Today we're going to take a look at two different power stations. This one here is from DJI. It's their new Power 1000 unit, and this one over here is from EcoFlow. This is the Delta 2. They are similar to one another in size and capacity, but there are some differences that we're going to go over in this video. I should also mention, full disclosure, that this video is a sponsored video by DJI. They did send me these units to do the comparison together with them, and they're both fantastic units. We're going to use one tonight to cook some food with. I've got some sausages right here that I'm just thawing out, so that's going to get put onto an induction cooktop actually, which we're going to power off of the DJI unit in a little bit. DJI, by the way, is really well known for their drone technology. For people doing more professional drone footage with the bigger drones, these two ports right here will allow you to fast charge these things in record time as opposed to using your standard AC outlets or your USB ports. Aside from that though, it's just camping. I'm going to be making this dish tonight. I got those sausages, I got some beets, some onions. I'm going to saute down the onions and just kind of do something like a ratatouille but with some meat in it, but not exactly a ratatouille. I'm just kind of going with this and following my stomach, if you know what I mean. I just looked in my fridge and I'm like, yeah, that's going to be good tonight. But in the meantime, we're going to take a look at both of these units and see how they stack up to one another. So we'll start off with the DJI Power 1000. Everything is in the front of this one, which is something that I really like about this particular unit. And the vents for the fast charging of this thing are on the side, so the whole back of it you can put against a wall. And then with the EcoFlow, you got the display on this side, some USB charging ports over here, and then you flip it around, and this is where you have your plugs on this side for the AC as well as your charging and your 12-volt output. There is also a plug on this one on this side. So the difference here is that the EcoFlow, you need almost a 360 space around it in order for everything to work on it. Using it in a picnic table setting like this is just fine, like that. This one, it does give you the advantage of butting it up against a wall and just having access to this, having a little bit of space on either side right here for the ventilation. Both of these solar generators have an internal battery that's the same chemistry. It's a lithium iron phosphate battery, and both of them are 1024 watt hours. So the capacity is exactly the same between the two of them. They both have instructions on it that are slightly different from one another, but there's a lot of similarities between how to maintain the batteries in these in the long term. On that note, you do not want to charge these things if it's sub-0 degrees Celsius. So if it's freezing outside, it's not a good time to charge the batteries on these things. They're going to excel better for the charging in heated environments like the inside of your home or the inside of your vehicle. The DJI unit has a 2200 watt inverter with maximum power output of 2600 watts on the two AC ports right here. And it does have a 4400 watt surge rating. The EcoFlow has an 1800 watt inverter in it with 6 output ports, and it's got something called X Boost mode, which allows it to go into a higher power output of 2200 watts. That 2200 watts is going to be equivalent to the starting wattage of this one here, but the surge rating on this one here is 2700 watts, whereas that one was 4400 watts. So you do have a slightly more powerful inverter in the DJI Power 1000. Both companies thought this part through and put in an uninterrupted power supply mode in both of these units. So what that means is you can use this as a backup power supply for, let's say, a desktop computer where you don't want it to go off in the event of a power outage. You can plug your computer right into one of these outlets on the unit itself and then have these plugged into the wall at the same time. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a bypass of current that goes through the units themselves. It keeps the battery level trickle charged, and if the power does go out, these things are going to switch over into the battery mode to keep powering your computer. This one will do it in 20 milliseconds, and this one will do it in 30 milliseconds. So the DJI is just a little bit faster than the EcoFlow Delta 2. I haven't actually tried that feature out myself, but I trust that both of these manufacturers have built that redundancy in it very effectively. The technology has been around for a while, but nowadays it's built into some of these solar generators. Moving on to the USB side of things, the Power 1000 features 2 USB-A ports. In this case, these guys built these things out to run at 24 watts each, which is stronger than the USB-A ports that are into the EcoFlow. The EcoFlow's got 4 USB-A ports. These ones here are 12 watts and these ones are 18 watts. So they're still going to be really fast at charging some of the stuff with this technology, but the ones in the DJI are faster on that side. Also, the DJI's 2 USB-C ports are 140 watts each, whereas these ones here are 100 watts each. So again, the power delivery on the DJI is a little bit more powerful than it is on the Delta 2. One of the nice features I like about this too is you don't have to turn on the USB circuit. These are active all the time. All you got to do is plug in your device and it'll start charging it. Whereas the EcoFlow, you got to toggle it on with this little switch right here to make the circuit live. The Power 1000's got a AC charging port right here, and then it has a cord right there that you just plug into a generator or a wall. And then it's got a little switch here so you can go from a 1200 watt input to a 600 watt input. Probably most of the time you're going to be using the 1200 watt input, which is going to charge this battery to 80% in 15 minutes, or in 70 minutes it's going to come to 100%. Similarly, the EcoFlow has an AC plug right here, and it comes with a cable. This is very similar in terms of the power input on it. It's 1200 watts. It's going to charge it up to 80% in 50 minutes or 100% in 80 minutes. While the EcoFlow doesn't have a switch that you can half the wattage on the input charging, you do have an app that you can use with the battery, and then you can select how much wattage you want to go into it. All the way down to 200 watts. You can go to 600, 1200, anything in between. All right, I'm just gonna take a break there. Check these guys out. Yeah, those are gonna be perfect. I'm getting hungry. I was hungry when I started filming this, and I'm just getting more hungry. And it's one of those things about being out in the woods camping. I can smell everybody else's campfire, or not campfires, but like stoves and that kind of thing. There's no campfires right now. It's a fire ban at the moment. So anyway, solar charging capacity. I know this is kind of like an infomercial, you guys. Probably the most fun part is going to be when I actually cook my dinner, for me anyway, and settle in for the night, do my other thing. But it is a beautiful campground. Yesterday I was here. I went down to the beach with a friend of mine. He did some diving out there, and I didn't join him because the visibility was pretty bad, and it was an evening dive. But he got a couple crab. We had those for dinner along with some of the rockfish that I caught, and it was pretty nice. So I've enjoyed the campground here for a couple nights. In any case, there's other people out there enjoying it too. The solar charging abilities of these two things is sort of similar. There are some differences though in terms of how all that stuff integrates into the units, which is what we'll get into next. So I'm going to grab this panel here just as an example, because it does have the cable on it, and the cable on this one looks very similar to the one that's for the EcoFlow as well. Essentially, it's a long cable with an XT60 connector on it. And on the EcoFlow, you just plug it in right here, and that's your input for your solar. So that's how that works for the EcoFlow. You just plug the solar panels directly into that. With the DJI unit, it's slightly different. So they don't have a plug in here that you go directly into the solar panels. There's no XT60 connector on here. They have these SDC connectors, which are multifunction connectors right here. You can plug in your drones into these and fast charge those, and that's really where this thing stands out with having some differences. So if you're charging solar though, you're going to use this thing. This is their solar charge controller. And you plug it in to one of these units right here, and then right here you've got 3 connections for your solar panels. So you can buy these 100 watt panels and plug one into each one of these, and then you can plug 2 of these into the DJI unit itself. The solar panels are great when you've got the sun and you're in a sunny location. You can harvest energy that way and keep all this stuff going. They don't take up a lot of space. You just fold them up and you can bring them with you, set them up just about anywhere. They also have some other cables that come with it. So we've got this one here is already plugged into this converter, but that gets plugged into it, and then the other end of this gets plugged into your car so that you can charge this thing off of your 12-volt socket in your car, the same way that you can do that with this. This one, on the other hand, it's going to have just this cable, so it's not quite as bulky, but similarly, they're both going to capture energy from your vehicle when you're driving. And this is the 12-volt socket output port for this one. So with the DJI, you can actually buy 2 of these things, which would be awesome because a lot of these things are built with only one. And in van life, you're going to use these things quite a bit. And having 2 of them is certainly a lot better than having one. You could use one to power a fridge, and then you could use another to power a heater. And that was always a challenge that I had with these things. I would plug my fridge in, and then I would want to use the heater. And so then I'd have to unplug the fridge, plug in the heater, heat the van up, plug the fridge back in. It was a big pain in the butt. So I've always wanted to see one of these things with 2 of those ports on there. And the way these guys set this up is that you can buy 2 of these cables and have 2 of these ports coming straight out of there. I should point out though that EcoFlow does have these 2 little 3-amp plugs right here. They do supply a little wire with that, and I believe this kind of thing is for charging shavers and stuff like that, but I've always said you can splice it into some LED strip lighting or something like that and then run those directly off of this part of the unit itself. That being said, these plugs were designed and put in place to fast charge the drones, and they built them so that they're multifunctional. If you do throw a voltmeter on here, you're not going to get an output power reading. It was something that I wondered because I always like the idea of pulling a lot more 12-volt power out of these things. That being said, DJI is going to be coming out with more accessories for this, so they might be building something to that effect for this particular thing. I know in van life, it would be really nice to have some big cable that you could plug into this, let's say like 100 amps of 12-volt power, which is a lot, but it'll allow you to go to a fuse panel and then power all the lights and all the things that you have on the inside of your van if you're using it for van life. But these things are more designed for throwing in your car, going on a camping trip, coming out to a place like this, and enjoying the outdoors. Last but not least, this one here has got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built into it, which is a very nice feature because you can pull this up on your app and control a lot of the parameters inside of the EcoFlow just through your phone. And it kind of works as a remote controller for turning on these switches like this and then turning them off again, which is kind of a nice feature. This one doesn't have an application feature with it, but it does have a greater output power capacity on pretty much all the fronts in here. So I would say, given that it's got the same size battery and it's 1 kilogram heavier than this one, 13 kilograms, 12 kilograms, you get a little bit more power output on the DJI unit. Anyway, it's time to cook some dinner. The sausages are ready. I'm gonna get going on chopping up some veggies. I'll share a few bits and bobs as we do that. I'm not sure how I'll put that together, but you'll kind of see. Oh yeah, and then I also got this really cool bag to be able to carry around that thing. It keeps it protected. You can pick it up with one handle. I never had something like that with the EcoFlow. I'm not sure if they make that sort of thing, but yeah, you know, food for thought. Okay, so that's what I got. Meat Man's Maple Pork. Really good sausages if you're on the island and you see these, they are amazing. I'd totally recommend them. So I got beets, carrot, onion, garlic, and some of these nice Thai chilies, and an apple, some butter, and seasoning. I was saying something, but then I was fumbling, so turn that on. And get going on this thing. Menu, we'll do Celsius. Oh, look at that. Sweet. What are we drawing? 692 watts. All right. That's fun. I haven't cooked on induction in a long time. Anyway, I'd pretty much start with butter and onions. I do that first. I get the garlic ready. I see a lot of people put garlic in the pan right away and it just burns it. So I leave it out until the onions are good and caramelized, and then I throw the garlic in, and then I start throwing everything else in. There's the apples, the carrots, and the beets. So probably get the meat in there next. There we go. I just cut all those up so that it would help render out the fat a little bit better. Plus I didn't want to have big full-length sausages in this dish anyway. But I could definitely use a bigger pan, so I'm probably going to graduate over to my wok in a bit. But I'm going to leave this in here to do its thing for just a little while first. So currently we're down to 69%. I just turned up the temperature, so we're pulling 740 watts. And I'm mostly cleaned up at this point. So all the dishes are put away except for the plate that I'm going to eat out of. It's kind of how I roll. I just sort of like to clean up as I go, because there's always little moments of time in between cooking where you can wash dishes. That way you're not dealing with a big pile of it at the end of the day. I used to hate having a sink full of dishes, but that being said, I do like washing dishes. It's pretty therapeutic. Yeah, it's coming along real nice. And I think we're gonna put it into a different pan. I got a bigger one, so I'm gonna put it in a bigger pan now. There. It doesn't have as big as the surface on the bottom, but like this works really well on a gas stove, so we'll see how it does on here. It doesn't like it. It thinks it's a pot. It's screaming at me saying, no, it's a pot. So I'm gonna have to try to stuff it all in here, I guess. It's gonna get crowded. Too crowded. It's ridiculous. Just gonna put a bit of water in here to help steam some of this stuff. So I'll just do that. There we go. Man, it sucks it won't take the wok, but anyway, new to that induction cooktop. 970 watts right now. Converting electricity into heat. So it's one of the worst ways of using electricity that I know of, and that's exactly what we're doing. That's why I was never really a fan of induction cooktops, but in any case, it's working, and it's gonna be good. And this battery was partly charged up by the sun a while ago, so that's great too. So some of this is just, you know, star food, I guess. Although I guess technically everything is star food when you think about it. So even if we're burning fossil fuels or running a nuclear power station or damming a river, it's all star power. I just realized that I actually picked up some lights that will work, but they're up there and they're those string lights, and I messed around with them the other day.
Oh, look at that. Oh, we are trailer parking it up right now. There we go. All right, nice crab dinner here. Oh, what a date night. Oh, that's beautiful. Great.
It was really janky. I didn't like it, so I figure I'm gonna return them and I'm gonna come up with a better lighting solution. I'm gonna try to get something that I can use for this kind of thing and clamp onto the table and have kind of arc over and have like a nice lampshade that illuminates that area really nicely. I just don't want to have the string lights necessarily. They're not the easiest thing to hook up. You kind of have to put them up in trees and stuff, and that'll work, but I don't know. Maybe I could do that, but it's not like right over top of this area where I think it needs to be more than anything else. We're down to 26%. And I'm still charging my laptop over there, which is great. We got beeping. I wasn't paying attention, but I think we're down to the end of the battery. But this is ready. This is definitely ready. It's still running though. It's beeping at me and it's running. So, oh, there we go. We're steamed up, and that's the end of it. Candlelight dinner in here. It is officially dark out there. Anyway, there's dinner. Bon appetit. First time cooking with induction while living in a van. Oh, and that is really good. All right, I'm gonna finish this up. I'm gonna chill out. It's pretty dark in the evening. We're gonna pick this up again in the morning. For now, I just want to point out that this thing is dead as a doornail. It will not even go on right now, so we used up all the juice in there. But tomorrow's another day, so stick around. Hang on. Good morning. I had a good sleep. I've got this thing going on right now, so I'm charging up the DJI unit with the EcoFlow at the moment, just because I can. And it is set to 1200 watts, but it is only pulling 929, and it says 950 on this one. I'm not sure why that's the case. I know when I've plugged this thing into the wall, it charges at the 1200 watts, it charges a little bit faster. But a cool thing to point out is how noisy this is compared to this one. The fans are going, but they're barely audible right now. I'm at a brand new location. I was just wrapping things up in the campsite that morning, and I had to get out of there actually fairly quickly, so I wasn't able to finish talking about what I wanted to talk about. And since we were doing this weird experiment of running one of these machines to charge the other, I thought I would do it in reverse order just to do an equal comparison on the two. But this time I've got the Power 1000 charging the EcoFlow, and the EcoFlow is noticeably loud, and this one is whisper quiet. You can barely hear the Power 1000 even indoors when you plug it in to charge it. And that being said, I'm gonna turn that off because it's really quiet out this evening. Anyway, the point is that DJI has really developed a quiet solar generator, and so far that's the quietest one that I've ever come by, which is really nice. This one, on the other hand, you're gonna, even with the ear muffs on, you're gonna hear that thing. So anyway, there's one more thing about the EcoFlow that I hadn't pointed out yet, and that had to do with this plug right here on the side. What this is it's a plug to add an extra battery onto this thing. So you can double the capacity or triple the capacity if you plug in an even bigger battery on the side of it. And that's what that plug there is for. And right now, that option isn't available for the Power 1000, but it does have very similar plugs with the SDC ports. But yeah, I'm not sure if DJI is going to be developing an expandable battery as an accessory for this thing, but they are talking about building more accessories for these plugs right here on the side. And then the final thing is that EcoFlow did build another accessory that plugs into this, and that is a alternator charger. It's something that you can install into a vehicle as opposed to just using that 12-volt socket. The 12-volt socket in the console is going to supply 124 watts, whereas the alternator charger can supply up to 800 watts of power to this thing, so it charges it really quickly on the fly as you're driving along. It is an accessory, but it's available for the EcoFlow, and as it is currently, there is not something like that for the DJI Power 1000. But you never know, these guys might come up with something for that in the future. On the other hand though, they do have two of these ports, and so we're only using one of these to charge it with the car. Theoretically, you could get another one and plug it into another socket in your vehicle and then double that wattage. So instead of being 120, you could go to 240 and charge this thing at double the rate. I don't have an extra one to be able to test that out, but I'm pretty sure that'll work because these are designed to work with dual solar charge controllers as well. Anyway, that's the comparison of those two machines. I will do a full-on review of this in a little bit. So I'll probably get a little bit more creative in terms of how I use it, and maybe I might fiddle around with the different ways of charging it a bit more and see a few more observations that I might be able to share in that video. So stay tuned for that one. And if you're looking for a more of an in-depth review on the Delta 2, I do have a video for that. I'll link that here and down below, I guess, in case you want to go see that one. But this is a really nice new product from DJI. And I do want to thank them for sponsoring this video as well and providing this stuff. so that we could do this comparison, and I hope that the stats and the information I shared in this video is useful to you and that sort of thing, and I don't know what else to say. Stay tuned for the full-on review for that product. I'm not sure when I'll get that out, but probably, you know, in the near future, I'll do an in-depth review of that one. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'm gonna go catch up with my family. I'm back in town, so I'm gonna go see them tonight, and stay tuned for the next one. I'm excited about tomorrow. I'm gonna be out making a video. I'm going diving tomorrow. I'm pretty excited because the weather is absolutely glorious right now and conditions are gonna be amazing. So hopefully catch a nice big fish tomorrow. I might even bring my fishing rod and try doing some line casting from shore, because I believe salmon is open right now too. Anyway, that's it. We'll see you later. Bye for now.